Okay, so let's go back to December 26th, 1996. A truly terrible crime is discovered in this quiet Colorado home. But the single most baffling piece of evidence? It wasn't found in the basement with the victim. No, it was a note, just left on the stairs.
Mr. Ramsey, listen carefully. That's how it starts. This was the opening line of what was supposed to be a ransom note found by Patsy Ramsey. It was supposed to clear everything up, explain a kidnapping, but instead, it became one of the most bizarre, most analyzed documents in the entire history of true crime.
So that's the big question, right? Who was really writing this message? Was this a genuine note from some dangerous kidnapper? Or was it something else entirely? A carefully crafted script just designed to mislead everyone? All right, let's really dig into the evidence.
So, a note on the stairs, the initial discovery, and you guessed it, the first red flags. Okay, picture the scene. It's absolute chaos. Little JonBenét is missing from her bed. Her mother, Patsy, she's the one who finds this 3-page letter on the back staircase. It demands a super specific amount, $118,000, and it makes one thing very clear: do not call the police.
Look, from the very beginning, this note just broke all the rules. Think about a typical ransom letter, right? They're usually short, they're direct, they're to the point. This thing, it was nearly 3 pages long. And get this, the physical evidence showed it was written inside the Ramsey home. Yeah, using their own notepad and their own pen. Okay, next up, words from a movie. We're going to unpack the notes' bizarre and, theatrical language. Because it wasn't just the length that was weird. The whole tone of the note was just off. It didn't sound like a real criminal who's under pressure. No, it sounded more like someone who was acting, trying to play the part of a bad guy.
We are a group of individuals that represent a small foreign faction. A small foreign faction? Seriously? It just struck investigators as so incredibly theatrical, so out of place. It feels like something straight out of a cheesy spy movie, not something from a real-life crime.
And then you've got threats like this one. If we catch you talking to a stray dog, she dies. A stray dog. It's so specific and so over the top. It feels less like a real warning and more like a line someone wrote purely for dramatic effect. And pretty soon, this whole thing started to feel, staged. Experts quickly started noticing that a lot of the phrases seemed lifted, almost directly borrowed from popular movies from that era. We're talking films like Dirty Harry, Speed, and Ransom. So this note, it wasn't just a message. It felt like a performance.
All right, let's talk about the $118,000 question. This is a detail that feels way too specific for an outsider. Because, maybe the most chilling clue in this entire note wasn't the weird phrasing, it was in a single number, the ransom amount.
$118,000. Think about that for a second. It's not a round number like, say, 100,000 or $500,000. It is so specific. So, of course, you have to ask, why that exact amount? What's the significance of that number? Why on earth would a random kidnapper just pull that very specific figure out of thin air?
Well, here's the connection that just sent a chill down the spine of the entire investigation. That amount, $118,000, it was almost the exact value of a work bonus John Ramsey had recently gotten. Now that is a piece of very private financial information that a total stranger, an outsider, would be extremely unlikely to know.
Okay, now let's talk about the fact that it was written inside the house. And this, folks, is probably the most damning physical evidence of all. The content of the note was bad enough, but the physical evidence surrounding it, even worse. It suggests the author didn't just have inside knowledge, they were actually comfortable in the home.
So check this out. The note was written on paper from a legal pad that was already in the house. It was written with a pen from the house. And then, and this is wild, that same pen was later found, put back in its little container. What does that tell you? It suggests the author had plenty of time, they weren't rushed, and maybe even drafted the note before leaving it.
And all of this led investigators to a truly horrifying possibility. What if the note wasn't for a kidnapping at all? What if it was just a piece of misdirection? A script written after the murder had already happened, simply to stage a crime scene and cover up the truth. So naturally, you bring in the handwriting experts, right? They're supposed to compare the note to writing samples from the family and tell us who wrote it. But even the forensics failed to give a clear answer. The results were totally inconclusive. Some experts couldn't rule Patsy Ramsey out, but others saw no definitive match at all. So the one science that was supposed to give us an answer just ended up deepening the mystery.
Okay, so where does all this leave us? Intruder or inside job? We've got two conflicting theories that were basically born from this one note. All of this bizarre, contradictory evidence leaves us with these two dominant and totally opposing ideas about what happened. And everything hinges on how you interpret this single piece of paper.
And this really is the central conflict of the entire case. You have one single note that somehow supports two completely different realities. On one hand, was it written by some theatrical intruder during a kidnapping that went horribly wrong? Or, on the other hand, was it a complete fabrication written by someone inside the house to create a totally false story for the police to chase?
A ransom note meant to explain everything may actually be the reason we still understand nothing. And that just says it all, doesn't it? I mean, in most cases, a huge piece of evidence like this would bring clarity. It would point you in the right direction. But here, the note did the exact opposite. The one thing that was supposed to explain the crime became the central reason why it's still so misunderstood.
And so that leaves us with the one question that has haunted this case for decades. Was this a message from a kidnapper, or was it a script for a cover-up? Was this note a genuine demand from a killer who just broke into the home? Or was it the first page of a screenplay, written to hide a terrible truth that was already sealed away in the basement?